Are we gonna start?
In the Blue Ridge Mountains of Virginia, on the trail of the lonesome pine.
Welcome to the best podcast ever. My name is Olga, and I'm one of the hosts today. Justine is our guest. Hello.
Hi, how
Uh,
are you?
can you say a bit about yourself? Where are you from?
Okay, so I'm 24. I grew up in rural Fermanagh. I moved to Belfast about 5 or 6 years ago now to study. I just completed my degree in sports science, and I'm currently working as a barmaid in Union Street Bar and Restaurant.
Amazing. So, is what is there to do in your city? Where are you from?
In Fermanagh, I would say our main town is Enniskillen. Um, it's a small town. There's there's things you can do, kind of more rural activities. You can go and explore the lakelands, horse riding. We've got a couple of go-karting tracks, and then quite a busy town area. So we've got obviously a cinema, shopping centre, kind of things like that there. But a huge part of my childhood was going to kind of like an after-school weekend clubs for people under the age of 24, just to hang out. It was a safe space, a safe environment. You always had somebody there to talk to. It was very easy to make friends. They would have had like a lot of gigs for us on and like weekends and stuff. A lot of like talks about sexual health, education, bullying, sexuality, so many things, mental health included as well. So that was kind of where I spent most of my youth, growing up in Fermanagh.
Amazing. So, how do you feel about moving from to Belfast from such a small city?
Um, I was really excited actually to start. I've never really been much of a home bird. I've always kind of wanted to, kind of fly away and find my own independence. So yeah, at first, obviously, I moved into halls at university. So again, I was able to meet people of my class, people of the same kind of interest of me. So yeah, I was really happy, really comfortable. It was only really when I started work in Belfast and live here more permanently, that I started to really find myself, learn a bit more about Belfast, more about the people, um, and yeah, just really come out of my own shell and really find who I was. So it was a big change, but at the time it wasn't a big deal for me. It's only when I kind of reflect that I see how good it was for me and what benefits it actually brought to me moving from a small, very country, very rural area into something a lot more, like, the only way I could describe it is big, because it is so different, so diverse, so vast. So
Um, so why exactly did you study that sports?
sport, yeah, so I did a degree in sport and exercise science. So this covered everything from coaching, strength and conditioning, psychology, and then got into a wee bit more things like exercise metabolism, and biomechanics. So the physics of how your body moves through exercise, and then like the biochemistry of how your body metabolizes fats, proteins, etc. So at the moment, I'm currently doing a little bit more of my own, like online training and research, just to help me get a job. It's quite hard, especially currently in the climate at the moment with the pandemic happening. It's really put pressure on the economy. It's making it a bit more harder to find a job. So hopefully, by doing further education of my own, I'll be able to give myself more of what I need.
What job exactly are you looking for?
I would be really, really, really happy to get into research. At the moment, for women in sport, a lot more research is coming out of the woodwork, about menstruation and exercise and how female hormones, can help or hinder you with exercise. A lot of previous research shows that males and females do not have the same kind of responses all the time when it comes to different exercises, different like supplements, ergonomic aids and things like that there. So I would really love to get into research to find out more about the female body and how we can use it to help us in sports.
That's actually really interesting. So basically, do you think right now, living in Belfast, you have more opportunities to do so?
Well, I mean, at the moment, personally, no, I have been keeping an eye out for job openings for research and stuff. There's not much when it comes to sports science research in Northern Ireland at the moment. I would probably have to broaden up and look maybe in the UK or possibly Europe. But hopefully something soon. I know Queens do a lot of sports science research, so hopefully maybe I'll get an opening there.
Amazing. So Georgia said you are traveling a lot.
Yeah, traveling's one of my favorite things to do. If I'm ever feeling down or lost at myself, or if I just even need a break, I love to travel. And I like my travel to be meaningful in some way. So previously, I've gone off to the likes of Africa to help out over there. I spent 3 months there doing a program with basically the youth on sexual health and education and female and disability equality, just because in Africa, a lot of them are very religious, very devout Christians. So yeah, going over there, it was a really, really big thing for me. It was the first time I traveled so far away by myself. And it really opened my eyes to do more for the world and try and help out whenever I can.
Amazing. That's actually a really big issue.
Uh-huh.
And with, like you said, with sexual education and sexual health, that's a big issue, and it's not only there.
Of course, yeah, it's all over. It's a worldwide issue that it all needs to be almost leveled out. You know, with my experiences in Africa, the beliefs for sexual health were so wrong. And it was very, very hard to teach and educate. Um, because you're almost intruding somebody's belief system and on everything that they've been brought up to know is true. You're kind of coming in and saying, well, no, you're wrong. So you need to be very sensitive to their beliefs, their wishes, their needs, and you need to approach it with a bit of caution. So yeah, but definitely all around the world need more. Even in the UK, in Northern Ireland, Ireland, we all need better sexual health education. Um, Quite often now in schools and different programs, we learn about sexual education between a man and a woman. We don't. That is it. That is it. It's so black and white, and it's causing so many problems. Mental health being one of them. A lot of people feel that they can't come out, they can't be who they want to be because their sexual health and their sexual education is being defined as male or female, and this is how things work. So we need to talk a lot more about sexual health and education, just to make things for younger people easier and potentially cut down on the amount of mental health.
So coming back to Africa, whereabouts you were in Africa and for how long?
So I went to Malawi. I spent 10 weeks there, so approximately 3 months. Eight of those 10 weeks were spent in the community. So we stayed in a town called Mazimba Bama, which translates to Mazimba town. We stayed with host families, and they kept us for the 10 weeks. They fed us, washed us. It was amazing. So there was some real cultural exchange that way with living with another family. My host mother was actually a pastor. So that was very interesting. And then we went out to different towns, different communities. Just like you see on the TV, the little shanty mud huts. That's where we went out. We put on youth programs. We did for International Youth Day, we did a huge show. and we got 1,300, I think was our number of people that turned up from the small town itself to hear what we had to say. But yeah, in terms of going into different communities, we first reached out by going in and speaking to the chiefs of the community and the pastors and whatnot. And then we reached out with them. We talked to them about what they wanted from us, how we could help, what they wanted to learn, and then we would have went back to our office, devised programs, plays, scripts, just even devised up like interviews and whatnot on how to talk to the community and how to interact with them in a fun way. And then, of course, we also had Malawian counterparts who worked with us, so they were from the community. They helped us as well, so they were able to tell us from their experience what they felt they need, what was lacking, and then they also worked as like a translator for us as well.
Amazing. Do you plan to go back there?
To Malawi, yes, I would love to go back to Malawi. But my current travel plans at the moment include other countries such as Bangladesh, Cambodia, Tanzania, and whatnot. So I would like to really try and get as far as I can to help as much as I can, if possible.
That's really amazing plan.
Thank you.
And I'm really interested in it. And so you can, if anyone who listened to that podcast would want to do something like that, if there's any way for them to,
of course,
to be a part of it.
Of course. When I first decided I wanted to go to Africa, I got a pop-up ad on Facebook saying, "Do you want to volunteer? Do you want to go to Africa?" And I was like, "Of course, yes, like amazing." But basically, there's a huge umbrella company called ICS. It stands for the International Citizen Service. And they provide government funding to other charities, other smaller charities, who then place you in an area based on your needs, where you want to go, what you want to do, if you're good at anything in particular. For example, if you just did a degree in sport or you just did a degree in English or art, wherever it may be, you don't even have to have a degree. They'll place you based on that. So the first charity I went with was called Progressio, and they worked in Malawi and Zambia. And then there's loads of different charities. Another one you probably have heard of is Rally International. They're quite a big charity as well, and they'll send you anywhere from South America to South Africa to Asia. So they're quite good. And then there's another one as well called BSO, and they're very wide charity. They do everything from cleaning up the ocean floors to, again, helping out small communities, whether it be the UK, England, or somewhere far away. They do everything. So yeah, I would definitely suggest, if you do want to travel, you do want to help out and see the world at the same time, just Google ICS, as simple as that, and you should find a whirlwind of information.
Okay, do you think that your travels change you in some way?
Oh, of course. I definitely went away and came back a different person. Some of the things I seen, some of the experiences I was in, completely changed and shaped me. I can give you an example. Before I went away, I was a very picky eater. If it was green, I did not eat it. Came back, I was eating everything that was on my plate, even if I didn't like it before. I tasted so many different foods. I had so much more kind of, how do I say? I was able to appreciate the smaller things that I have in life. Even like a shower, toilet roll, a toothbrush. Those are all small things. Home cooked meals like mashed potatoes and mince. Those are all definitely things that I learned a lot more to appreciate. But then I also learned to appreciate other people's experiences in the world. So for example, one of the biggest things that touched me when I was away was I was doing an interview. It was a kind of open interview, but we had some pressing questions that we needed to ask in order to try and help and combat some of the issues that were ongoing. So yes, I spoke to a disabled guy over in one of the communities in Africa, and his personal life experience included a lot of rape, as the community chief had said that because he was disabled, if you raped this guy, you would be cured of HIV and AIDS. And it just broke my heart, and I had to leave the interview. I had to go and take 10 minutes to myself, because I just thought to myself, this is not just happening in Malawi, this is happening all over the world, and I'm only helping one person. And it made me want to go home straight away, like, get me out of here, I can't do this. But I kind of had to find that inner strength to carry on and to keep doing it, and that hoping that making this one small change will, in turn result in a lot more, better changes, better education and whatnot. So yeah, definitely it taught me to appreciate other people's experiences. It taught me to become more in touch with my own feelings and emotions. At the end of the day, we're all human beings. So yeah, definitely shaped me for the better, I think.
Amazing. So I think that we covered your travels experience. So we can talk about oh my god, sorry about that. Sally, will you cut it out?
Sorry, did I upset you?
Yeah, Georgia said you're spiritual. Is it connected to any religion, or just you being in connection with your own soul?
So I would definitely, yes, describe myself as spiritual. Although growing up, going to church was a huge part of my life, going to church every Sunday, dressing up in your nice clothes, going to church, going for a meal afterwards, or coming home to a cooked meal was all part of my growing up. Although, yes, starting to travel, starting to get a feel for the world by myself definitely taught me that there's more to life than simple black and white religion. And yeah, I try to be as in touch with my soul as possible, but not just my soul, the world, the things around me, plants, animals, other people especially. I believe in the power of talking, of opening up and sharing, and just feeling how you feel. I think it's very important that as people we can appreciate, our emotions. If we feel sad, it's okay to feel sad. If we feel angry, bitter, jealous, they're all valid emotions, and that's kind of just where my kind of spirituality would come from, is just being a human being, and just being respectful of other people, of other things, of other experiences, of other livelihoods. So yeah, I think it all kind of stems from that, and just being very mindful as well.
Yeah, I think that's the main important thing, that treat other people like you want them to treat you.
Of course, yeah, it's nice to be nice, and that's just kind of how I would see things and live with things.
But it's really hard to actually gain that connection with yourself, with your inner self. And for a lot of people, it's actually really, really, really hard. So do you have any advices?
Um, for me personally, it kind of came from having emotional problems myself. I was starting to feel really down, starting to feel a wee bit depressed. I kind of went through a bit of a time where I had an eating disorder, and I was very aware of it. I was very, very aware of how I was feeling, what was happening to me, the changes that I was going through, not getting up out of bed. And somebody suggested an app to me called Luminosity, and it gave you little brain teasers to play with on the app, but it also talked you through mindfulness and being in the moments. It taught you how to deal with your anxieties. It taught you to validate being anxious, because it's extremely normal, although it can be tough and really, really crushing and unbearing. It taught you to just kind of understand it. So through that app, Luminosity, I was able to just practice getting into myself, focusing on my breathing, where I was at the time, what I can hear at the time, what I can smell, taste at the time, bringing that all back into me and what I was currently feeling at the time, and being able to work through it, being able to understand that it's okay to feel the way I do. It's okay because other people feel the same way. It's okay because it's normal. I was able to just kind of find that connection with myself. I think it was kind of maybe already there. I just didn't know it. I think we all have it. I think we can all connect with ourselves in this one way. It's just a matter of finding it and doing it. You really have to give time to yourself. A lot of people, I think, go home and put the telly on or go on their phones or play computer games, and they don't take that time to connect with themselves, to feel how they did. Maybe they had a bad day at work. Maybe they saw something really sad on the street. I know, for example, for me, it's horrible to walk past somebody who's homeless. So I kind of have to take that time to just connect with myself. And although there's nothing I can do at the moment, things are being done, and eventually, we'll all get there. So yeah, just trying to, like, even if it's a minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, taking that time after you finish work, after you've been to the gym, to just unwind with yourself and let yourself be there, is a really good stepping stone.
Do you think we talk about and we talk enough about it? About
Absolutely not.
help,
No,
to help in yourself about mental health problems?
no, absolutely not. For me, the only really time I say things about mental health is if um, it's Mental Health Month or it's Suicide Awareness or, it's Autism Day. That's the only time you really see something, is if there's a day. We don't talk about it enough. I mean, I can give you an example that only 8% of the healthcare budget goes to mental health in Northern Ireland. 8%.
I know that
It's
it's really,
ridiculous.
really sad because there's so much people actually suffering with mental health problems, and it's a lot of kids, young people.
Yeah. Of
And
course.
it's not like it's affecting only kids and young people, it's also affecting adults.
Yeah.
So the numbers are really, really, really high.
I try to keep on top as much as I can with statistics and figures, because I want to see a decline, and I hate seeing them increase. In Northern Ireland, we have a 20 to 25% higher rate of mental health, suicide, depression, and self-harm across the whole of the UK and Ireland, which is staggering. But then in the rest of the UK and Ireland, they have more advocates and more help for mental health, whereas in Northern Ireland, we're extremely we're like being crushed by a big boulder, because it seems like everyone can talk about it, but nobody's doing anything about it. So this is where things like protesting and rallies and speaking out, showing your voice on social media helps, but we still need to do more.
I'm totally agreeing with you. So, do you think it's because you're gay, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that mental health problems and the suicides might be connected to the fact that people are scared to come out?
100%, yeah. I mean, of course, there's a lot more other reasons for mental health, not just sexuality, but of course, yeah. Like I said earlier, going back to education, sexual education in schools, you're not taught about anything. For me, growing up in a rural community and going to church, I was taught to be with a man, to marry a man, and to have children with a man. And it was only really when I moved to Belfast and I seen, how things really were in a bigger city away from home and, with travel as well, I was able to just really connect with myself and find myself. But of course, I think, especially in children, a lot of kids, they don't know who they are. They don't know why they feel a certain way. Particularly with trans kids as well. Like, they don't know how to express how they're feeling. They're scared. Can you imagine how hard it must be to say to a friend or to say to a parent, I think I'm in the wrong body? Or, things like that there, where they haven't been educated, they haven't been told it's actually okay if you feel this way. It's actually okay if you feel attracted to the same sex. It's actually okay if you don't feel attracted to anybody. There's so many, sexuality is a spectrum and it needs to be taught and it needs to be learned. And I think you're right with kids. We could maybe cut back on the rise of mental health if people were properly educated and informed on such a taboo matter that's not really taboo at all anymore.
It's not. A lot of people right now, they are more open about it, but you still have people who thinks that it's something wrong to be gay.
Yes,
You
of
know,
course.
have you been scared when you came out? Have you been scared how your family and friends would react?
Yeah, the biggest, the scariest person for me to come out to was my father. My father is devoutly religious, and when I came out, he was actually really kind. And I kind of hope this helps people because my father's actually very homophobic, and I've always known that about him. And he was able to appreciate how hard it was for me to come and tell him because obviously I knew that he is set in his ways. But he came to me and he said, look, I don't understand how you can feel this way, but I still love you. You're still my daughter. If there's anything I can do for you, which really helped me. And I'm really lucky in a sense because not a lot of other people have that from their family and from their friends. I told all my colleagues in work before I told any of my close friends or family, just for me to break the ice. I was mentally preparing myself for a lot of abuse. I was expecting a lot of abuse. I wasn't expecting a lot of support. It kind of felt like I was going to be on my own. But coming out to my colleagues first to help me because they actually gave me so much more support than I ever expected to receive. And that small thing made it easier for me to talk to my family and my closer friends who were then also able to support me. So I think, it's hard. It's really, really hard to do. I think in our own heads, we can make a bigger deal out of it. We can make it seem a lot more worse than what it really is. But for me personally, in my own sense of reality, I shouldn't have thought about it that way because it was actually really easy. When I said those words, it was like the biggest weight being lifted off my shoulders. I felt so relieved and I didn't care how anybody reacted because I had got it out in the open and I wasn't holding it in anymore.
Amazing. So, did you ever experience discrimination because you're gay?
Um, Honestly, I can't say that I have.
Okay. Um, so do you feel there's any difficulties for gay people in Belfast?
Of course, there's always going to be difficulties for gay people, but in my opinion, that stems from other people's beliefs and opinions. I can respect that people have those beliefs, those opinions, although I don't agree with them. So in my mind, I can kind of can't say the word. I'm not going to bother saying it. I can put it away in a box on the back of my head and deal with it and leave it there. But for other people, I know it is a lot more difficult. People experience homophobia, not just homophobia, racism, a lot of inequality all the time based on who they are for being different. So yeah, it can be difficult, but I know Belfast is kind of growing, and there are a lot more places for people to go, youth, older people. There's so many like coffee mornings, things like that there to make it easier to help you make friends. If you do feel alone, you can find other people through different communities and groups. But yeah, I don't think that'll ever take away from how difficult it can be. And sometimes it's internalized as well. So you think that people are going to treat you a certain way, you feel that people are going to treat you a certain way, or you deserve that people are going to treat you that way. And it can come from that as well. So if we can learn to not really internalize that, then things might be received better, I think, rather than just thinking, oh no, they're gonna know I'm gay, they're not gonna want to employ me, or they're gonna treat me different at school, or whatever it may be. I think if it's not internalized, it might help you a wee bit better.
Yeah, you're 100% right. It's mostly about how you see yourself. That's how other will see you. So if you're scared because of your sexual orientation, people will see that, and they might treat you different.
Yeah.
So for you, as a woman, do you think that you have the same opportunities as men?
Yes and no. Sometimes, but it depends on the situation or the scenario. I'm quite fortunate at the moment where I work. All opportunities are equal opportunities. However, it's not often the case. I know a lot of employers are equal opportunities employers. Although when you go for an interview or whatever, that employer might see you for who you are and be like, no, I don't want to employ them, even though we are equal opportunities. It's kind of like a front. But in terms of for myself and other people, I think just persevere. I think in the city especially, like there's a lot going on. There's a lot of people that are voicing their concerns, which are the same concerns that you and I and everybody else has. The work's being done. I think changes are small, they're quite minute, but they're happening. But I wouldn't let my advice to anybody would be I wouldn't let that stop you or change you. I would tell them to let it make them stronger and keep going. And I think eventually, if you look at the way things are now, a lot of females are in leadership roles at the moment. And I think that gives me a great deal of confidence, because even if they aren't doing a good or a bad job, they're still in that role. And it's a monumental step. And it does kind of close the gap a little bit in terms of males and females.
Do you think that sexism is a problem in Belfast or not really?
It can be. In small things, like you might experience sexism as in a job. For example, that could be put down to certain things like strength. Oh, you can't lift that, you're a girl, it's too heavy. But no, I think personally, just again persevere. We can do it. So I think if you have that mindset and that attitude, you won't experience sexism as much. My last employer, I used to call him sexist all the time. Like, why? Why didn't you ask me to do that? I could have done that. Is it because I'm a girl? Is it because I'm a woman? And it kind of nipped things in the bud. And then I noticed small things like, will you go and do this, or will you empty the keg room or whatever? And then that made me feel better because he wasn't going and asking a lad when I knew I could do it. I think, yeah, just sexism. I feel like, in my opinion, it's dying out. It's an old trend now. I feel people are less needing to be sexist because I think they know women are actually going to come back and bite them in the ass for it. So
it's yeah, you're right, but it's still happening, and it's still going on with a lot of young girls who don't have idea of what's going on. Are you seeing yourself as a feminist?
Yeah, I would describe myself as a feminist. But by feminist, I mean I think everything should be equal between men and women. I'm not like I do believe in women's rights and women's equal opportunities, but I believe that feminism will only really work if we promote equal opportunities rather than female rights, because number one, females should automatically already have the same rights as a man. So number two, it's how do we get there? How do we make other people understand that? But yeah, I would describe myself as a feminine and an activist as well. Like, I will try when I can to be there at rallies and marches and support groups and whatnot to try and help other people come through things, just even to be a listening ear.
So do you think there's anything we can do to change it?
Yeah, of course, there's a lot that can be done in terms of equality. But I think one of the biggest things we need to do is talk about it more. It's not being talked about enough. We hear about it, of course, but there's no open dialogue, and there's no people don't go out and have that conversation with one another, and they don't talk about it. It doesn't seem to be a topic of interest for too many people. So by highlighting it and making it become a topic of interest, in schools, universities, in training days for in work and whatnot, if you bring it up as a topic, ask your employers, ask your pupils, ask your friends, do you feel like you're being treated equally as a woman or as a man? Do you feel like you're being treated equally as a person of color or a person of a certain sexuality? Talk about it. Like, you need to talk about it. It needs to be, if you don't talk about it, nobody's talking about it. And then how can we go from there? The first step is definitely talking about it and making people more aware that there's still a problem.
It is, and the biggest one, it's, I think, still about skin color. With all the different people, it's still quite sad because we're still experiencing racist on almost all of the stages of our lives. And there's not enough talk about it. Like, yeah, we have BLM and all the other protests and everything else, but still there's so much people who actually think that it doesn't matter. That they doing it just to get fame, not to actually change something.
I mean, racism is something that it's experienced every day all over the world, not just in Northern Ireland or the UK, but it needs to be seriously addressed. I kind of spoke a wee bit earlier about how I feel, and like, I feel we're all humans. We're all the same. We all have the same emotions, when you are racist or homophobic, you're hurting somebody's feelings and you're putting somebody down when we're all equal. If it was the other way around and people were being racist towards us, would we take it? Probably not. So, why should you dish it out if you're not going to take it back? I think it's so hard to find the words to talk about this because number one, everybody's talking about it, but again, I feel like nothing's being done really. It doesn't matter whether you're black or white or brown, whether you're Asian or whether you're Italian or Irish, there's no need for it. I think it's so hard to find the words.
Mostly racism getting from that the people are scared. People are scared of change, and people are scared that somebody will come and do something that they wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
Or they are just scared because they never actually talked to somebody like that. So,
Yeah.
talk to somebody who's Asian or
Yeah.
African or, any nation. Yep. Thank you.
Mhm.
So, do you think that it's important to talk about women's empowerment?
Oh yeah. Oh, 100%, yeah. Female empowerment. We don't hear enough about it. We don't do enough of it for ourselves, and we don't do enough of it for each other. It's so important to empower each other. It can do wonders for you, for your mentality, for who you are. If you're empowered or somebody has made you feel empowered, it gives you some confidence. It makes the smallest things easier to do. It makes you feel more accomplished, more able. So yeah, definitely. I don't think we do it enough. I don't think girls are very good at saying you look great today or comment on a photo, but not just girls, of men as well. Like, we should all be doing this for each other. Making each other feel better. You're really good at what you do, or I love the way you've done that, or even small things like if a friend's starting something out, new business or painting, art, they've opened a new bar, restaurant, studio, whatever it may be, empowering them with your words can really do wonders for a person. And it's such a small, small thing. It's so easy to say, what you've done here is brilliant, or I love the way you've done this, or you're really helping people with what you're doing, or you look great today, or whatever it may be. Something so small can be so big for whoever receives that kind gesture or kind words. It's not difficult. We just don't see enough of it. We don't build each other up. We don't. A lot of people, they would they'll not break you down, but they'll just not say anything at all, which is probably better than the latter. But small things, small steps like empowering each other. If it's a smiley face on a picture, a small comment, a compliment, goes such a long way. And I don't think people will realize the power in that.
They don't. And I actually think that it might help a lot of people who suffering with some kind of problems, and that one comment, it might be just something that they needed.
Mhm.
That power kick to do something more, to actually convince themselves that, I can do it, I'm great at it,
Yeah.
and somebody else like my work.
Hmm. Definitely. I don't think we will survive too long if we don't empower one another, if we don't embrace each other for who we are, for what we do, how we feel. If we don't respect that about one another, then mentality will decline. And it's the small stuff that goes a really, really long way and has such a big positive impact. on everybody. Everyone will love to feel empowered. Everybody will love to hear a compliment or to hear that somebody likes their work or somebody likes what they're wearing. It doesn't matter what it is or what's it about. Empowerment is such a big word, and it is such a big feeling.
I think that we should talk more about it because it's really, really important, because right now it's mostly people don't think about it, and it's a lot of judging, and we can't do anything about it. It's just how it is, basically. And I think we need to show people and try to teach them that there is actually a different way to do this.
Of course, I completely agree with you there. Even if it is just you and you're the only person in your workplace who decides to go and empower another colleague or friend or family member, whoever it may be, wherever it may be, that one small thing can encourage others to do the same. And taking these small steps, talking about it, feeling it, listening to it, learning from it, will all make bigger, better changes. But yeah, definitely. Somebody might say, "How do you empower somebody?" Because they just might not simply understand it. But empowerment comes from, believing what you're saying when you're saying it, and meaning what you're saying when you're saying it. Taking that time to go to that person and say what you need to say. It helps, and it might make that person feel better, and then it'll actually make you feel better as well, because by doing something nice for somebody else or making somebody else feel better, when you realize you've done that, you're going to feel better as well. So it's going to help a lot, and it's what we need a lot more of. Just how do you teach people to be this way? How do you encourage people to use the words to empower people, to make other people feel better? And you might not simply empower somebody, but you might give somebody the opportunity to open up and talk. If they don't feel good about their work or who they are, what they're doing, you empowering them, saying those nice, kind words, gives them an opportunity to think about themselves as well, and think about, how they feel. They may then see you as somebody that, well, they've been nice to me, so maybe I can go and talk to them and they can help me more, or maybe I can help them, and then it eventually, through empowerment, you should see more like community. I think it'll encourage it. It'll encourage, people to be nicer to one another,
Yeah, I definitely agree with you, but I'm also thinking that a lot of times people don't actually know the difference between empowerment and criticism. And they are like, yeah, I like it, but
Yeah.
and then they given the reason, and they think that they helping, but most of the times it's not helping. It's actually keeping the person out.
Of course. 100%. You're right that is a criticism. If you add a but and a negative, if you feel like you need to give somebody criticism, ask them first, are you okay? Would you understand if I gave you some criticism? But try, to use powerful, positive words when you're deciding to be critical. Although it's not always the best option, because you're being critical and thinking that you're helping somebody can really hinder them and can really make them feel bad. So it requires a sensitivity. When empowering, it's all about making, empowering, the word power is in there. It's all about making somebody feel powerful, good in what they've done, good in what they're doing, good in how they feel. And that doesn't involve any criticism at all.
So do you have any advice for young people from yourself?
First piece of advice I wish I knew when I was younger was that your feelings are valid. If you're feeling a certain way, if you're feeling stressed, if you're feeling angry, if you're feeling really, really happy, if you're feeling underwhelmed, overwhelmed, it's all valid. And to realize that your feelings are okay, they're natural, it's a human response, can really guide you. If you pay attention to, if you feel sad, you feel down, why do you feel sad? Why do you feel down? If you feel happy, you feel, so full of joy. Why do you feel full of joy? That's great that you're full of joy. Enjoy that experience. Accept the experience of your feelings, because your feelings are trying to tell you something. You feel the way you do to understand and help you. Your feelings are like the yellow brick road. When you follow them and you find them, you're going to get to where you need. And you're going to feel happier by exploring your feelings. If you're feeling sad because you can't come out, you can't be who you want to be, if you're feeling down because you feel that you're experiencing homophobia or racism or whatever it may be, if you're being bullied, talk to yourself or talk to somebody else about those feelings and let them lead the way for you. I think I wish I knew that when I was younger, because I definitely would have been happier quicker. I would have been who I wanted to be quicker. I would have come out sooner, and I would have been at this place where I am now younger. So yeah, that would be my advice.
Amazing, thank you so much. So that's us. We hit it. I don't have any other questions. You answered all of my questions. The answers were amazing, and thank you so much for talk, and thank you so much for coming to our show and talking to me.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for inviting to me. It's been lovely to talk with you. I've loved all the issues that we've talked about, and I will be really excited to hear more from your podcast.
Amazing. Thank you so much again.